The internet erupted when this music mogul soul was spotted flying commercial. But the surprising truth behind his broken image reveals a calculated financial strategy and an ongoing rivalry that keeps fans guessing. It's been a wild last 24 hours for Rick Ross, one of America's most flashy and flamboyant rappers with an extravagant lifestyle. Not long ago, he was offering a flight attendant job for over $100,000 a year and even poking fun at Drake's private jet. Ironically, after making those comments, Rick Ross himself ended up having a forced landing with his own plane. The latest story, however, saw him flying commercial, leading many people to speculate he was broke. Rick Ross quickly addressed the rumors, stating, "I just want to know where my jet is. I obviously didn't get the memo. It's being updated with Starlink. You know what Starlink is? Yeah, that's the $500,000 Wi-Fi. That's where my jet is. And I chose to fly commercial to Colombia to go party with Trick Daddy and Ball." Greasy at the Escape the States event, he further elaborated, "People should stop worrying about what rich individuals are doing. If I send my jet to pick my mother up and I fly commercial, that's what I do for my mother. If I send the jet to drop something off, I'll walk for my mother. So you're laughing at young hustlers who own MARTA. You can't do that. You certainly can't laugh at a rich person." He continued, "Where Ricky Rose takes flights to 6 digits, I'm going to get some money. But don't ever look down on young hustlers who are walking, riding a bicycle, or taking the train to get money. Don't ever talk about these young entrepreneurs, whether they're flying first class, coach, economy, or private. I flew that way for 20 years before I spent $40 million on a plane. But don't ever talk down on young hustlers who are out there getting it. I don't care if you young hustlers are driving Uber, Rose will salute you like a heavyweight." Despite his explanation, many still believe he's fabricating the story or hiding something. Installing Starlink aviation on a plane typically requires 10 to 15 days of aircraft downtime for most business jets and larger commercial airlines. Depending on the aircraft size and complexity, obtaining the equipment takes 2 to 12 weeks, and the typical hardware costs around $145,000. Rick Ross mentioned a much higher figure for the Wi-Fi, which is Elon Musk's company providing internet wherever they go. The reason Rick Ross often faces scrutiny in situations like this is his previous taunting of Drake regarding his plane, calling it no good. He once challenged Drake, saying, "We have to talk about Drake's plane. How private's the plane? It's private. Can you walk around in your underwear?" Drake's aircraft, which he calls Air Drake, is not a normal private jet. It's a Boeing 767 cargo plane transformed into a flying mansion. He even mocks other private jets in first-person shooters, stating, "Still taking pictures on a Gulf Stream." That line clearly shows Drake has leveled up, as even elite jets no longer impress him. This is the same type of aircraft commercial airlines use to fly hundreds of passengers. Most private jets, like Gulfstreams, can cost tens of millions, but Drake's Boeing 767 Air Drake is valued at around $185 to $200 million, thanks to customization by the late Virgil Abloh. Inside it boasts luxury lounges, bedrooms, showers, a theater, and even a custom poker table, a true flying mansion. The plane started as a cargo aircraft, and Drake received it as part of a marketing partnership with Cargojet, a Canadian cargo airline, for brand promotion. When your jet is bigger than most airline cabins, you don't flex first class, you flex the entire plane. Rick Ross, however, continued to question Drake, asking, "I have one more question for BBL Drizzy. How long are you going to stay on that plane? It's dangerous. It's a 1978 cargo plane. It wasn't built for humans. It's dangerous. Imagine a white boy with a soul plane. How did that boy Cassin outdo?" In a bizarre turn of events, Rick Ross subsequently experienced a forced landing with his own plane. He emerged unharmed, but the incident was particularly strange given his recent comments about Drake's plane being unsafe. It serves as a reminder to be careful what you put out into the universe. Rick Ross later recounted the experience. "So, thank everybody for all the pressers, but I'm going to tell you, we were on a jet and I saw the fighter jets. I saw his nose, like Tom Cruise from Top Gun. I saw his nose. I saw him in the cockpit and I was like, damn. I saw his cheeks and nose going back from the G-force. I'm like, damn. And then, hey man, it happened. I can't say what happened, but it happened. Come on, white boy. But I'm going to tell you something. What I'm going to take back about Drake's old plane, BBL Drizzy. I know you got the ashtrays in the armrest in the hindsight. That's really cool, for some smokers, But we're safe, everybody. Drake does indeed have a mega plane, and it looks pretty safe. He's got a beast. It's not just a jet, their back and forth continued, with Drake even having a lyric saying, if he's lying, then he's flying economy, and he knows he will see that. In a funny twist, Drake is now reportedly filming a music video in front of his own plane, suggesting more diss lyrics for Rick Ross might be on the way. Both Mentality and Academics tweeted that Rick Ross was lying about his private jet, highlighting his exposure for flying commercial and the internet's reaction, largely due to his boss lifestyle, bragging, and claims that Drake and 50 Cent were not on his level. The following day, Rick Ross went online and said he didn't fly his private jet because he was setting up Starlink and that he let his mom fly it instead. However, it was reportedly proven he was fabricating, and his jet hadn't been flown in over a month anyway. It would be very surprising to hear news that he lost his plane, had to sell it, or anything happened to it, as Rick Ross is not in that financial position. He claims his jet is worth a significant amount. This was my RC plane I had for 3 years before my actual plane. How much did this jet cost you? Close to 40 million. Then I got the G600 interior. I wanted the bed, got it painted, the whole vibe. So, I flew commercial for 20 years, and I have nothing wrong with that. While I was flying commercial, I told myself I would not charter a jet until I was ready to buy it. I was watching other artists charter those jets. Artists I was much more financially stronger than, but I watched them do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I told myself, and I waited those 20+ years, and when it was time for me, it was an investment. Just because people saw him flying economy one time, they are calling Rick Ross's finances into question. Is he overspending for someone with his net worth? Should he be flying private? Is he faking his lifestyle? We excel at breaking these situations down. People are saying he's getting a hard time because he's such a big talker. That's all it is. One person noted. Because to me, I'm just like, who cares? You should be smart with your money, just like T-Pain. Remember when T-Pain was like, I will be on that commercial flight? Another responded, nah, Ross is not T-Pain. T-Pain is much more responsible. The counter-argument was, no. You guys are looking at it through the wrong lens. Once you talk all that talk and you flaunt money, and you're the boss and all that, when they catch you just chilling, you could literally be like, yo, I was just working out. Yo, we saw Ross, he was mad ashy and sweaty. Yo, what happened? You're supposed to be the boss. Why do you have a regular t-shirt on? That's what the internet does. You set the bar. As Academics said, Rick Ross flying commercial was never the problem. Ack states the internet only reacted because Ross spent years promoting a cool billionaire lifestyle and suddenly got spotted sitting alone at a regular airport gate. Ack suggests Ross was actually making a smarter financial decision, claiming a comparable private trip to Colombia would have cost close to $100. The shocking thing wasn't that he was flying commercial. It was seeing Rick Ross sitting by himself at a random airport. Rick Ross is always engaged with TikTokers and prone to bizarre antics. When it comes to damage control, he often has people filming him living a wild lifestyle. Just after this jet situation, he immediately had someone give a tour of his garage. What's up, Ross? What do you do for a living? I'm the big boss you've seen thus far. Can we take a look at your hangar? Of course you can. Go check it out. Going in. This is awesome, dude. How many cars do you normally have in here? 15 cars in here. Do you have a favorite here? My favorites usually rotate, but my 57 Bel Air is most definitely a classic. I love classic cars. You know those foreigns, they do something for me, too. What are you daily driving mostly? Rolls-Royce, Maybach, and something like that. What do we have on this side over here? A couple of Rolls-Royces, a couple of Maybachs, some classics, and a Ferrari 57 station wagon that runs off jet fuel. Rick Ross owns the Promised Land, his famous mansion in Georgia. It spans 480 to 510 square meters, features 109 rooms, including 12 bedrooms and 21 bathrooms, all on 95.1 hectares. This property is used for events, filming, and even movies. He purchased it for a mere $8 million in 2014 after Evander Holyfield faced foreclosure issues. Evander Holyfield originally spent $50 million to build the 4,180 square meter mansion on 133 hectares in Georgia. It boasts 109 rooms, 12 bedrooms, 21 bathrooms, a 135-seat cinema, a bowling alley, and a dining room that seats 100 people. The road it sits on is literally named Evander Holyfield Highway. The outdoor pool holds 1,325,000 liters of water, making it one of the largest private pools in the entire United States. It was also used as the Royal Palace in Coming to America with Eddie Murphy. Holyfield spent $50 million, lost it to foreclosure, and the bank took it. Rick Ross then walked in and bought it for $8 million, a $44 million discount. The property has been valued at around $30 to $50 million, with Ross making bigger claims of $75 million. This property asset, acquired at such a good deal over 10 years ago, has seen him 10x his money on it. It goes to show that one good deal can completely change your life. And that property is obviously a large chunk of his net worth. But he also owns a Star Island waterfront mansion in Miami Beach, Florida. This was a purchase he made in 2023 for around $35 million. He has improved the property, and its value has increased, with claims of it now being worth $40 to $60 million. Rick Ross clearly knows what he's doing with real estate. Many people invest in properties, but it's very hard to significantly increase their value, especially when he has his own unique style. What up, it's the boss. Yesterday, we began talking about real estate. I don't know anybody else that bought a $35 million crib and tore it down, and did it the way they wanted to do it, customized. Well, I did. Here we go, right here on Star Island. I have easily $50 million into this, and it's well worth it. My dream crib. But right next door is an empty lot. They're only asking $37 million for the flat lot. And before I show it to you, you know who I'd love to be my neighbor. So, my rich friends, it's available, and I know you've got somebody that would love to stay right here next to Ricky Rose. So, right next door to me, this empty lot right here is totally available. They're only asking $37 million, which isn't much for the ball game. It's Ricky Rose. Come on, man. You could be my neighbor. I would love to wake up in the morning and hear everybody get your roll on. It's only $37 million. Come on, man. I believe Rick Ross is financially savvy, but his talk of a lifestyle that people couldn't even fathom makes them want to see his downfall even more. He has also made investments where he owns numerous Wingstop franchises and various other businesses he has established. He spoke about the astounding numbers they are offered to go to Dubai. Then they'll give you another $50,000 to eat some camel meat. And then when you come home, if I'm just chilling on a Tuesday, you can put me a little brown bag together, Rose. I'll slide through. Because you've got to remember, I'm not just thinking about Rose. I'm thinking about the 30 partnerships I have. So when I'm walking somewhere, that's 30 businesses walking through with me. My other 30 partners see us. We're staying in a penthouse that's $75,000 a night in Dubai. Then we'll go to a barn in Augusta. The very fact that Rick Ross is able to fly commercial and swallow his pride rather than just get another jet for the day is precisely why this guy will probably never go broke. People who have too much pride and will never lower themselves at any point often end up losing everything. Rick Ross has been questioned a few times about where he gets all his money, and as you can see, many of the property investments he's made increase his assets, allowing him to leverage more money to invest. Through property, he builds most of his wealth. People were asking last week, how is Rick this wealthy? Where is Rick Ross getting all of this money? He has a bunch of investments. He has a bunch of bricks. That's where that passive money comes from. Yeah, man, he used to roof, and he has Wingstops. Oh yeah, he owns a bunch of Wingstops. It was a long list of things. Someone joked, I'm going to pin him into just having all the MMG money forever. Every dollar I see him with, I think, oh man, Ross is a comedian, man. Rick Ross and 50 Cent have had their beef over the years. Not long ago, Rick Ross was on a podcast where he criticized 50 Cent for his business dealings and decision-making. But 50 is a $200 million guy. He's a non-starter, don't lie. He doesn't own power, yeah. He doesn't own any of that. It's a $10 million sellout. He doesn't own Get Rich or Die Tryin'. That's why he doesn't promote it. He makes nothing off it. He just did a big documentary on Diddy that blew up. It was a #1 documentary for like 2 weeks. They just use him. They'll put his name on there, give him $10,000, and that's it. He doesn't own any of that. You think he's taking $10,000 for that documentary. What did you think he was getting for power? Google the actors that were in power. They spoke up. They were getting minimums. Just because of you. I'll let 50 wash the bottom of my yacht. You're going to let him wash the bottom of the yacht. Yeah. I don't like to see anything green at the bottom. He can get the scuba goggles, the mouthpiece, the fins on his feet, and he can flap like flippers. The good thing about Rick Ross is that he's conscious of learning from those who came before him. He spoke about the person who owned his property previously, Evander Holyfield, a boxer who made tons of money and then lost it. leading to foreclosure. Rick Ross, learning from their mistakes, says he doesn't want to fall into that same trap. A smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So, we've also seen a lot of entertainers and athletes go broke. Without a doubt. Was that something that was scary to you? Of course. Every time I come through the gates, I say, damn. The guy who owned this previously before me made $50 million a night. $50 million plus came through his hands. What's going to separate me from the mistakes he made? And I began going down my mental list. Well, this is what I'm going to do differently. The man he is learning from is Evander Holyfield, and a full documentary will be made on what happened to him. How this guy lost a ridiculous fortune. He could have been worth billions now, and people stole from him. In the situation that one of the family members borrowed money off my house. Wait. One of your family members took a second mortgage on a house they didn't own. Right. Wow, how much did they take? Too much. And so with me, I said, oh well, okay. And so I said, that's it. Because it was kind of sad after my mother passed. Now everybody wants to steal from me. And it's saying so, It was one of those things that I didn't want to call them out and all this because they were old, but I'm the youngest one in my family. And so, these are one of the sisters. Your sister stole from you. Yeah.